International Women's Day. If there was ever a year to celebrate, it's 2021 after the year we've put in. Thanks for coming and celebrating with us. My name is Neve and I work at Dove House on the Advocacy Project, which offers support to victims and survivors of domestic abuse. The theme of International Women's Day this year is Choose to Challenge. We want to celebrate women's achievements and raise awareness against gender bias. We thought that we would get in touch with a few local women to have a chat, listen to their stories, and hear what challenges they've overcome in their life. You may know Marguerite Mcintyre from her social media page. She is a music graduate, flautist, and founder of Local Vocal Community Interest Company, which is a successful social enterprise. She has kept us all going throughout lockdown with her amazing weekly singing sessions online, which aim to help those most isolated as a result of the ongoing pandemic. Marguerite is a big believer in singing to strengthen the lungs and has experience conducting and coordinating local choirs and folk groups. Hi Marguerite, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to tell us about a challenge that you've overcome in your life?
Yes, I would. Well, the biggest challenge I have had in my life is having a speech impediment. There's kinds of names for it. There's stammer, stutter, or a speech impediment, or I've had this for ever since I can remember. I've had to, kind of live with this. For a long time, I could have said that I suffered from a speech impediment, but in recent times, I don't suffer any longer. So basically, it all started, I think anyway, it's kind of hazy back then. It kind of started when I was about 5, and I was in primary school, and I was learning how to read as kids do, and I was handed out books in school, and you had to take it home and read aloud to your parents. So it was at that stage that I started to become aware that I couldn't speak like everybody else. So I had to read aloud. I remember it vividly. I was in the kitchen in our family home, and I was reading the book and just basically couldn't string 2 words together. So my mother called my father in and says, listen to this here. There's something's wrong with her. And then he listened to me and says, well, that's not right. So then sisters were all brought on, and I had to read aloud again. So then I kind of realized that there was something not right, that I wasn't the same as everybody else. So, okay, that was grand. Basically, thrived in school. It was great, had plenty of friends, and just learned how to cope with having a speech impediment. And also, people kept trying to fix me, so that I would fit in with everybody else, and trying to find cures. Cures was a big thing back in my day. A cure for a speech impediment, or if you had a bad skin disorder, you had a cure. So I remember my mother. She got a pebble from the cemetery up in the Cregan Cemetery. It was a holy pebble from somebody's grave. And her cure was to put the pebble under my mouth and try and talk. So I think the theory behind it was, if I was concentrating on not choking on a pebble, I wouldn't have a speech impediment. So it was a long line of these kind of cures and fixes that my mother tried, but it was purely out of love that she was trying to help me fit into society. And but she didn't realize that she was doing a lot of harm, because it kind of heightened the awareness that I was different from everybody else. And it was a real challenge, to kind of know with the knowledge in there that you weren't the same as everybody else. So a long line of trying to get fixed. There was something else too. She sent me to elocution lessons and speech therapy, and I had all of these trying to fix this problem. I was sent to America, and I got this. It's like an implant. Well, it's like an ear, a hearing aid, a special hearing aid that was made for people who have speech impediments, and it would echo your voice so that it's almost as if you would speak, somebody else is speaking along with you. So all these, but I'm trying to say that there was a lot of effort put into trying to fix the problem. So, and this created in my head that there was this thing that I wasn't fitting in with everybody else, and I always wasn't, just not the same as people out of my class. School teaching, back then it was all different. School teachers would skip me whenever it came to reading out in class. So they would just go from one girl to the next boy, and then just skip me, because I don't know if it took up far too much time, or if the school teacher was kind of embarrassed and going, God, I'll skip her, save her the whole handling of speaking. So this series of events and of people just trying to, they didn't do it intentionally. It was just how it was. So people just continually making an issue of a speech impediment created the problem. So anyway, I done well, and I done okay, and had friends, and but having a speech impediment has a huge impact on somebody's life. I can't begin to tell you, to understand how it feels, the frustration of not being able to say what you want to say. It's awful. If you know the answer in class and you put your hand up and you go, oh, I can't put my hand up because I can't say it. Do you know what I mean? Even though you know the answer, you can't say it. It really is, for people who have speech impediments, it is a huge, huge issue. I went to the university, and we were living in London, and the university was in Wimbledon, and I used to get bus out to the town centre, and I couldn't say the destination that I wanted to actually go to, which was outside the university. So I had to say a destination I could easily say. So I went one stop behind where it was meant to get out. And this was right beside Wimbledon Common, which was notorious for rapes and murders and everything. I could have been raped or murdered or anything, but I thought it's worth a chance because I can't say where I actually want to go. So learning how to cope with everyday life. Having a speech impediment, I learned tricks. I learned to be crafty. I hid it away. I didn't speak sometimes, almost like collective mutism. Just always holding this thing inside, ashamed of not being able to talk like everybody else. But in recent years, I can just say that that's hugely actually changed now. So that is the one biggest challenge that I've had to overcome.
And Marguerite, what about singing?
Yeah, I've always sang, I always says, I can't speak, so, but I can sing. So I always sang in choirs and sang harmonies with my mother. We always were encouraged to sing, and singing comes with it comes to me naturally, and it provides me with an amount of fluency that I can't compare to anything else. Everything is free and easy. Do you know, there's two schools of thought about people with speech impediments, and that is, some people believe that it's mental or like a neurological condition, and some people believe it's physical. For a long time, I was really caught up in why do I have this problem? Why, trying to get to the crux of why I have this? Why me? Why do I have this? Is there something wrong? Or, you know, but now it's really not an issue. It really is not, and singing helps that. And I'm a firm believer in the therapeutic benefits of singing, and how it's helped me, and I want to promote that for everybody, because it really can help everybody. But in the later years in life, I have grown to accept that I have a speech impediment, and in that acceptance comes, you just be so thankful that you have something that makes you unique from other people. Now, believe it, actually coming to that realization has made me so free and able to cope. And I really I like having a speech impediment now, because I'm not the same as everybody else. You know, I am me. You know, it's part of who I am. I've accepted it, and in coming to that realization, your speech gets easier. Right, you see me now as I am, and I can speak all right. I think I'm okay. But back in the day when I was fighting against it, I could not string two words together. It was, you know, people kept saying to me, well, you should get somebody to phone up the bank for you, because you really can't speak, or you have to, you know, if you want to order pizza, I have to get somebody else to order pizza, or if I want to order a taxi, it was like, I can't order a taxi. Hello, I can't order a taxi. I can't speak on the phone. Now I don't give a damn, and I would speak to anybody on the phone. Honest to God, it wouldn't take a wrinkle out of me. I embrace public speaking. I'm so passionate about acceptance, and just accepting yourself for who you are, and in coming to that, the problem shrinks down.
Absolutely, Margaret, you're 100% right, and you're an inspiration to so many. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
We love you.
Oh my God. Hold on. Was there someone else? I was going to talk about the Maguire program and how it costs people thousands of pounds, or should,
Okay, right.
it's a bad slagging people off. I'm not saying I'm bad.
Right, go. I'll mute myself. Go.
Right. A lot of, I would like to just say to other people who have a speech impediment that it is an issue if you make it an issue. There is hundreds of young boys and girls shoved in the store cupboards who have jobs that won't make them face the public, because they are hidden away and they're too scared to actually come out and say, I have a speech impediment, because they're too probably, this has been, you know, it's just for them, it's been like a huge issue. And I would like to help the people who, you know, the young people, just to try to embrace it You can, there's courses in speech therapy, and Maguire program is fantastic. If that's the path you choose to go down, that is, it's great. But for me, I believe just accept who you are and let it go, and it will be hard. It's not going to be easy, but you'll get there in the end.
Thank you so much. Our next guest is Una Mcginley. She is a retired teacher who currently runs Ireland's only holiday facility for people who need a hoist or other specialist equipment to enjoy a break by the sea. Hoistaway is based in Donegal. Thanks for joining us, Una.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us about a challenge that you have faced or overcome in your life?
Well, when I was asked to do this, I was asked to talk. I was asked to talk about the fact that I'm gay. And to me, what I would say about that is that it wasn't a challenge. It was who I am. It's who I am. And I really think that if anybody has a challenge, it's other people accepting me. I did not at any point hear any of my brothers and sisters come to me and say, look, I'm straight and I want you to know that, and are you okay with that? And can you accept me for who I am? So I never felt the need to come out because I was never on. I was never anywhere. This is who I am. And if people accept me for that, that's fine. And if they don't, that's fine. The challenge part of it to me is to challenge other people to actually accept and move on, accept themselves and move on. And I know that a lot of people find that difficult and don't necessarily have the confidence to do what I did. But that's what I did. And in my teaching career, one of the things that I had to overcome was I was teaching in Catholic schools, and part of a permanent job was that you actually had to say that you would live a Catholic lifestyle, and I couldn't do that. So I could not work within the Catholic system. I couldn't, because I couldn't lie about it, and that's just me. That's just who I am. I couldn't promise that I would do X, Y, or Z because I couldn't live with that, and I couldn't live with myself knowing that I was living a lie to fit in with other people. So my challenge is to challenge other people to say, well, you are what you are, be who you are, and be happy. It's no one else's business.
That's definitely a really, really good point. Una, would you have any advice to anyone who's struggling to accept who they are, or who's struggling with any sort of challenge like that?
Well, to me, you say it was never a challenge. It was never ever a challenge. So I can't speak in the sense that your sexuality is a challenge. I think we all have to challenge society to say, well, it's not a challenge. It's who we are. That's it. I don't get the whole coming out that. I don't get the whole gay. It's just not me. It's not me. And I think my advice to anybody would be, just be. It's nobody else's business. Who you love, doesn't matter who you love, because at the end of the day, it's good. Love is good, and that's what it's about. It's not about whether you love a man, woman. That's not what it's about. It's about the person that you fall in love with, and that's where I would be going with it.
Perfect, Una. Thank you so much.
Is that okay?
Brilliant. You all right?
I don't know if that made any sense or not, or if I did myself.
No, you did. Do you want to talk anything about Hoist Away and how you've helped other people?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want to talk about it and just let people know that it's available? Well, I know with COVID it's not, but
it is actually.
Oh, is it? Oh, brilliant! There you go.
Yeah, we are. We are available because it's a bubble coming through a bubble.
Okay,
because
so
we did the respite centre in the whole of Ireland that was opened, especially during the first lockdown.
So Una, like I said, runs Ireland's only holiday facility for anyone needing a hoist or specialist equipment. It's a fantastic facility that's got so many positive reviews online, and you've actually featured on the Late Show, right?
No, we've been on the news both north and south, and I think people are saying we were on nationwide in the south.
Fantastic. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the holiday facility?
Well, basically, it is what it says in the tin. Hoist Away is a hoist facility for people who require being hoisted out of their wheelchair. There's nowhere in Ireland that does this, that gives all the facilities that we do. And we also have the added bonus of, and I will just let you see the added bonus. Okay, if you have a wee look out that window. We're looking directly out to sea. That shows you how low tech I am. I turned the full thing around instead of just hitting the turn round button. But anyway, Hoist Away is for people for families. And so many families have said to us, well, you know, we've never had a family holiday. And that to me is a challenge. To me, that is a challenge that people that it was a challenge that it wasn't being met for families, and that families were not able to go away together and to have all the facilities that they needed. Now, there were two young girls who, one of them was 11, one of them was 13, and they did so much, and if it hadn't been for them, this would not have happened, because they challenged me every single day. Una, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? What are we doing next? And they challenged me and they made me do it. So it's thanks to them that the facility.
Thank you, thanks for being so inclusive for everyone and making sure everyone can get a holiday. That's amazing.
Well, we like to do, we're only a very small drop in the ocean, so we are. And we've turned away more people than we can facilitate, unfortunately.
So there's a huge need.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant, Una. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now we are joined by Jane Doe. Jane is a local actor who will be reading the real life story of a participant of the advocacy project. The story relates to someone's experience with domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is a silent pandemic. It is so important to hear the stories of the victims and survivors. However, because of the added risk and lifelong threat to those who have experienced domestic abuse, we wanted to protect the identity of the person who is telling the story. We have called the actor Jane Doe. Hi Jane, thank you for telling someone's story today. Would you mind telling us a bit about a time when they chose to overcome something?
Yes, my story. I was in a very abusive relationship. The relationship seemed okay until my partner and I started living together. As soon as we moved into our house, he became a monster and it got worse. I believe he started to mentally brainwash me and try to cut my confidence, and then the physical violence started. Some of my animals were killed. I was injured several times. My flesh was torn from the inside out. Some of my bones were broken and cracked. My abusive partner was 11 stone heavier than me. I was locked in rooms and thrown against walls and furniture and over furniture. He would pick me up by my wrists and swing me about. One of my wrists was literally crushed. I had always eaten healthily and looked after my physical body, but he complained I was too thin and insulted me regularly and compared me to other women. I went through a phase of overeating because I thought if I was heavier, he wouldn't be able to pick me up so easily. Things were becoming desperate. My abuser very rarely went out at night. One night he was going out, so I packed my car and left that evening and travelled to a family member I thought would help me. My family member did not want to help me, and when my abuser realised I had gone, he travelled to where I was and drove me home. The abuse was horrific, and I was preparing to die. I stopped eating and speaking at this point as everything seemed hopeless. One very brave and very caring friend who persevered and tried to keep contacting me arrived at my house one day when my abuser was at work and took me to my GP, who was wonderful. And the escape started there in that room with my friend and my GP. I eventually did get my abuser out of the house, but I was stalked. I had break-in attempts, I still do at times, and he tried to intimidate me regularly. I had to have surgery for one of my injuries. My abuser knew this and sent me a text the morning of my surgery to complain that he had a cold and wasn't feeling well. Prior to him leaving, he had taken me to casualty a couple of times, and although I could have stayed overnight in hospital, I felt like I shouldn't, and the abuser would take me home and then be physically violent. One day he pinched his arm until it was red and said, "Oh, look what you have done to me," as if I was the abuser. I would have pleaded with him verbally and screamed in the beginning for him to stop, but he would repeat my words back to me as if he was the victim. I started to believe that people would maybe think I was the abuser and that it was me that was hurting him and not the other way round. I have suffered from night terrors for years and often wake up screaming. Getting to sleep and staying asleep is really difficult. I get pains in my collarbone from where I was pinned down, and it cracked at the time. When I experience this particular pain in my collarbone, I feel like he is back on top of me again, and it's very upsetting. Going out alone is very difficult at times. Sometimes I get so stressed I can't see or can't think straight. What have I learned? Abusers are liars, and they pick on people who are loving and kind and want to destroy any happiness in your life. They manipulate people and situations to their advantage. I've also learned that it wasn't my fault and I didn't do anything wrong. They want you to settle for a lesser life. They don't want you to be happy or experience love or joy. They do not change, and if they apologise, it's sometimes to open the door to more abuse. It's to see what they can get away with. People who are cruel don't change. What do I want people to know? Be kind to yourself. If you are sore or tired, rest if you can. If you've been through a huge trauma, don't put a deadline on when you will be through it. Don't compare yourself to other people because they have not been through what you have. Reach out for help. I read something yesterday about a man stalking a woman, and the advice was contact the authorities so the police can watch them instead of them watching you. Sometimes you have to act, and it's very frightening. If you have been more or less brainwashed into believing no one will believe you and people will think you are crazy, it's very difficult to actually try and put into words what has happened. But there are people just waiting for you to reach out. I was given so much support, and I still am getting so much support. I was given help in every way, from wonderful emotional support to help with alarms. I've had a camera fitted on my house. When I had no money, I was given practical help with benefits as I couldn't pay my mortgage, and I was struggling for food and fuel, and that has changed. Don't let things get as bad as I did. You deserve the very, very best life has to offer. Let someone help you today. You won't regret it.
So now we're joined by the amazing Charlotte Gormley. You may recognise Charlotte from her social media channel. Throughout this pandemic, Charlotte has massively helped those that have been suffering with isolation by carrying out creative craft workshops online. Charlotte is one of the most honest and genuine people I know, and she's a fantastic advocate for mental health. She always encourages everyone in her classes to talk about their feelings and aims to eradicate the stigma surrounding mental health. Thank you for joining us, Charlotte.
Welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Of course. So tell us about a time when you overcame a challenge in your life.
Well, actually twice I did. Way back in 1983, I had just had my third child, and announced to me I suffered from postnatal depression, which back then wasn't really a stigma. People just thought you're in the dumps, and that was it. And it was quite tough having 3 children under 2.5 years of age. But I got through it. And then, unfortunately, 13 years ago, my marriage broke up after 27 years of marriage. And that was an awful blow. I went into a very, very deep depression. My world just fell apart. And I had other issues at the time that I didn't know how I ever was going to rise above it. I just kept slipping and slipping till I got to a stage I was suicidal. I didn't care what happened to me. Had no interest in myself, people, my home, which I loved, and it just kept going down. I ended up being hospitalized on a lot of medication, counseling, just everything and anything that was thrown at me. I didn't want to be that person that I had become, but I just couldn't get up that hill. It was just an awful struggle. Family and friends thought they were doing the right thing by ordering me to do things like get up out of that bed and get on you, and this. That isn't the right attitude to take. And I know years ago people thought that was the right thing, but it certainly wasn't. It just made me more defiant than I just didn't care. So years passed, and I always loved crafting, always loved seeing people do well for themselves. I wouldn't be a jealous person or a greedy person, but it got to a stage that I had to do something for myself. I was on medication, and I felt that, is this me now for life? Is this my world? It wasn't the one I wanted, but it was thrown at me. So I had a few friends that started to visit me on a Monday night, and I always would have brought a wee thing with them. They maybe get sold or whatever. And then it got to a stage that it built up that little did I know they were kind of using a tactic, announced to me that this is possibly something that we can achieve, get her to do something that she loves. And it got to a stage with that many in my kitchen. People wanted me to make curtains and altar clothes and whatever. One of them happened to say to me one day, why don't you do a wee class? Mum will get somewhere, and we'll meet up one night a week. So I approached the Glen community group and asked them. They said yes, we could hire a hall. And before I knew it, grown up there had applied for funding. And before I was employed, I went on a scheme. I'd never been unemployed before, I never was on benefit. My ex-husband was the breadwinner in the house. So there I had been set a road that I had absolutely no idea how you went about doing all these things. And I was entitled then to a wee grant. I was allowed to work so many hours, it didn't affect my benefit. And before I knew it, other groups were contacting me saying, I believe you're a craft facilitator. And that's over 6 years now. I love it. It's not like a job. And there's just so many people out there who, through no fault of their own, or circumstances that was thrown on their way, suffer from either anxiety, depression, have experienced suicide within the family, maybe the loss of a cancer, illnesses that people have nursed people. And no matter how much medication you take, yes, it can bring you down, but you're never your own person as long as you're on medication. I'm not saying for anybody out there to stop the medication, it's not working. It does work, certainly work. And to this day, I'm still on it, but on a very low dose. And I think that it's part of my problem with it is that I'm afraid that to totally stop it. I'm weaning myself off it. The doctor does know. But I can feel the dips and the highs. So I always know that, right, you're not in a good place today. I did turn to prayer. I'm not a holy Joe by no means, but I do talk to God, and I talk to Claire Crockett, and I talk to whoever listens to me. And that does guide me through, because even though there's a room full of people, or you would have everything in front of you that you want, there's nothing worse than loneliness. And that then takes you back then, that step of thinking when the house was full and it was buzzing, and then all of a sudden you don't have that you wanted. Looking at photographs was very, very difficult, because that would have brought up the past. So what you do is get photos out that are happier times. I now can look back at photographs and talk about them, and where years ago I couldn't even have looked at photographs. And I think my friends were doing what they knew what they were doing, But I would say to people who suffer from depression, anxiety, any of those, you can do it. I did it. Never thought I could have done it. I remember lying in Grantia, and there was a young girl there, and I thought, my God, why is that wee girl in there? I mean, what would be wrong with that wee girl, that she would have to be in a place like this here? It can affect any age, from children up. And having people about and your family being about is great to motivate you. But you have to say to yourself, this is my life. Is this really what I want? And if you can get out of bed one morning out of 7, if you haven't been able to do that, that's a bonus. Just wee steps. If you can make yourself a hot meal a day that normally you wouldn't have done. I now set myself wee targets every single day. And if I achieve those, it's brilliant. And if I don't beat myself up. There's always another day for it to happen. So I wouldn't say to somebody, don't feel, or to anybody, don't feel bad about how you feel. It can be an imbalance in the brain. It can just be circumstances. And, these are all things that's thrown at us in life, and we just have to battle on and make the best of it.
Absolutely, Charlotte. And I think as well, just to let people know how you're such an open book, and you're so honest about your journey. And I think that really inspires other people who attend your facilitation classes, or who you meet. So it's just really important to let people know that they talk about their stories.
Most definitely. I mean, I had a lady one day said to me, Cheryl, what do your children do? And I told her, and she says, oh my God, that must be brilliant. And she had lost a son, and another son who went off the rails simply because of the circumstances of losing his brother. And I said, well, at the end of the day, we're all given a set of tools. And, you were given a different set to me. and we can only use what we have. Our past has a lot to do with our future because circumstances cause that. But if we can close a book, what I did do was, and I don't know whether anybody else has done it, I got a page and I put a line down the middle of it, and I wrote the very serious things that were my problems on the left side of the page. On the right, they were problems, but they could be sorted. And every day I took one of those ones that could be sorted and I sorted it. And then I would go then to the page of the most serious things. And I go, what can I do to make this thing a wee bit simpler, that I can move it then over to the right, and eventually I will be able to score it off totally. And it did work. It's an elimination of working out the things. And don't beat yourself up if you don't get there. You have to crawl before you walk.
Absolutely, Charlotte, and that's a really practical way of looking at problem solving.
Yes.
Really, really good. Thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Well, I would encourage, at my classes, I would say to them, today's a good day, or maybe a bad day, to just push yourself that wee bit and give them nearly homework. And I would say, in the past, they'd have to say, or would say, oh, I better get that done or she'll give off to me. It's not that I was giving off, I was just giving that wee push.
Absolutely, and the feedback from the classes is so wonderful, so keep doing what you're doing.
Oh my God, amazing.
And thank you very much, Charlotte, for giving us your time.
Thank you, Niamh, for asking.
Happy International Women's Day. Enjoy.
Likewise. Okay, all the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Donna. I'm the Advice Coordinator in Dove House. I'm actually on today as part of the International Women's Day to discuss financial capability and financial empowerment for women through benefits. Now, since the dawn of time, women have traditionally been the little woman sitting in the house while the men went out and caught the animals or brought on the bread. Now, once this was brought into the house, women had the role of doing the household budgets. So they would have had to sit and make sure there was food in the bellies, heat, roof overhead, clothes on their back, and the list goes on and on. This is usually a thankless role, and there's no holidays, there's no special treatment, no wages at the end of the month, or Christmas bonuses. We as women play a vital role, as predominantly we are responsible for managing the budgets, whether it's via earnings or benefits. So if there's nothing there, it's hard to budget. Since the dawn of time, the benefit system has been really male oriented. What would have happened with legacy benefits? Say a couple got married and for whatever reason they had to claim benefits, the benefit would have been paid to the husband. Would have been in the husband's name, as I said, it was very male oriented. So if there was any form of abuse or control in the household, the little woman wasn't getting any money. So there was nothing to make the budgets last or to make the money last. Another problem for women, when women go out to work, even if they're part of a couple and there's children involved, the childcare is usually down to the woman to get sorted. Now, if she isn't earning enough money, if there isn't the money coming in, childcare costs can be really, really expensive. But what we need people to know is there is help available. If you're already in receipt of tax credits, you can get childcare costs added on to your working tax credits. Now, it is dependent on your income. So if you earn a lot of money, understandably, you'll not get as much help as you would somebody with less income. Now, tax credits will help with up to 70% of your child care costs. But once again, it is down to whatever income that you bring in. Now, if you're not in receipt of tax credits, there's a new benefit that has been introduced in the North since September 2017 called Universal Credit. Now, Universal Credit also has a childcare cost element, but they will assist with up to 85% of your childcare costs. So it is always so important that people would phone an advice centre, phone Dove House preferably, and we could sit and do like a benefit entitlement check to see if you could get the help, which would mean you could stay out and work, you could have money coming in, that's your money. Now, I want to go back to the fact that the benefits were always male orientated. In other words, it was paid in the man's name. What a lot of people do not realize, there is a system called split payments in universal credit. Now, to get a split payment, either one of the couple can request this either via their online journal or by phoning universal credit or sending an email to their work coach. Now, split payments will come into play if either member of the household notifies the department of financial mismanagement or financial abuse. Another reason, if there's domestic violence issues. And the other reason is if whoever is getting the payment is not budgeting for their family and making sure that there's enough money coming in to meet the basic day-to-day needs. As I said, if that applies to you, all you have to do, you don't have to, go to your husband and say, I'm doing this. Either one of the couple on the claim can request the split payment, as I said, either through their online journal or by calling universal credit. It is so important for women to understand this, that they can take control of the finances. Yes, the payment will be split, but at least there's something there that you can budget accordingly and make sure the bills are paid. And let's be honest, every woman has a wee bottom drawer or a wee secret stash, just like men do also. And it's good to have that because you never know what's going to happen in the future. So what I would advise women to do in particular, you see if you feel that maybe you don't have enough money coming in, maybe there might be a chance that you could get benefits, please phone Andy Dove House, have a conversation with. It takes 1 minute to do a benefit calculation.
Thank you so much, Donna. That was great, really informative. Thank you. Our next guest is Jackie Concy. Thank you so much for joining us, Jackie. We know that you've recently given up your job to look after your father, Jerry, who has dementia full-time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so would you like to tell us a bit about a challenge that you've overcome or that you faced?
I've been caring for my daddy for about 10 years now, but the problem happened during COVID because when you say caring full-time, you are doing it in the house, but my daddy had a lot of interventions, like he went to Mellow Deeds with Marguerite, he went to the Deeds group, he went to Seven Oaks for a day, and when lockdown happened, all that stopped. So then I became full-time carer 24 hours a day. And for me, the main challenge was the isolation. And I know everybody thinks there's loads of stuff online and stuff like that there, but the elderly generation aren't necessarily into that. So that meant me taking time out of my day. And this might sound harsh to some people. Sometimes all you can do in a day is get through the fundamentals of caring, keeping the roof over their head, feeding them, washing them, clothing them. So to join in all these different Zoom classes was quite difficult. Now, we were very lucky. Marguerite came and did the doorstep melodies with that, and that just lifted the spirits so much. So I could see the benefits of joining in rather than seeing it as a chore. I did the carers group with Deeds, and I could see how much I could bring them back if I actually started putting in the time. But as you can imagine, even just listening to Donna there, I was the one that was bringing in the money and bringing in the animals. So for me, it was trying to navigate that in a time where I was still supposed to be working. So I suppose for me, losing my identity as part of this, and just becoming a caregiver and having to work around 35 hours a week as well as caring, which is like 2 full-time jobs. And I love my daddy wholeheartedly and I would do anything for him, but it's been really, really challenging. And I think for me, the greatest challenge, as I say, is the isolation. People don't ask you how are you doing now, they say, how's your daddy doing? So you lose that wee bit of identity, and for me, losing my job was another wee bit of that. So it's about trying to overcome that and realise that, right, okay, I am doing the right thing, I'm caring for Dad. So rather than seeing it as a hobby, that's now my full-time job. So although I've given up my paid job, I'm still working. People have been asking me, how are you doing in retirement and stuff, and I'm going, I don't know, it's okay. So I haven't
100%. Yeah.
The only thing I think is different is a wee bit of pressures off me. I don't have to log into my computer or turn on my work phone at a certain time, so I can do things more at my pace, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and I understand what you say. When everything sort of came to a halt whenever COVID and the pandemic hit, and we were all on lockdown. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in your same position that have taken on caring full time. Would you have any advice or words of wisdom for them to help them through this challenging time?
I think the things for me as a professional who is used to caring for people in all my roles, I was a youth worker, I did employment support up to recently. It's okay not to be okay yourself. And they remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know they all sound like cliches, but when you're stuck in the house and you can't leave this person unless you get somebody else in, and even if you get somebody else in and you're worried about what they're bringing into the house, like even, they bring the nieces or something in, they've children themselves. So reach out, ask for help. Like I have to admit, between Marguerite and Mellow Deeds and the Deeds group, we've been really well supported and highlighting what is out there. And I'm really hopeful that now I've given up work, I can start doing more of those things with Dad. So ask people, don't be afraid. I was always afraid of saying that I couldn't do it. I was feeling, and up until recently, I was saying I can't do any job 100%, but I was doing enough. And it's just about acknowledging that and knowing that you are doing the right thing. Dad doesn't like when he might pop into this, but if the camera turn around, he doesn't like when I'm away from him. He doesn't like when I'm out. So I know he's safe and happy with me. So just know that what you're doing now is enough.
Absolutely. So what do you do to help yourself? How do you take time out for yourself? Do you get a chance to take any time out for yourself?
At the minute, it's really different. Say with COVID, I've started colouring in, and I would have seen doing the art activities and the singing and stuff like that there as a chore. Now I see it as something that we can enjoy together, and it's given me as much of a break. And this might sound really stupid, but it's given me my daddy back. I lost him. He doesn't know who I am most days, and some days I'm his wife, some days I'm the dog, depending on where he is on that particular day. So to be able to sit and do something with him that brings him back to me, that really helps me. And I think knowing that I am doing enough and that he is, loads of people say, but you're safe and happy, but you have to feel that in yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I see, is that all different photographs behind you, or?
He collects fridge magnets, and then we try and put up wee pictures of the children and stuff. These bottoms, actually, my daddy couldn't go to the first communion and the christening because obviously with COVID.
Yep.
My cousin is really talented, so he superimposed that into the picture with him.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, and he doesn't remember if he was there or not. So to him, those pictures were actual days. So
fantastic.
Now we do them in black and white because Dad's back in his older days. Dad's not a dairyman. He was one of those unlucky men that came in the Navy ship and never got out again.
Aye. That's brilliant, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I hope it's an inspiration to other people. And you're fantastic doing what you're doing. So keep going.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right then. Bye.
Bye.